Right, let's see. Tier 8, always good for... Well, regardless of what ship you want, Tier 8 is always going to be absolutely excellent. No carrier Shokaku, but you got defensive AA, so that's pretty lucky, since Hipper AA is pretty damn good. And domination, well, I generally prefer domination over standard. Whether it's better or worse for a cruiser can be debated. Big threats, Amagi. I guess King George, Bismarck, but Amagi is going to be the #1 blapper. The destroyer threats are not really that... Well, honestly, destroyers aren't as nasty around this tier as they are higher and lower, because you have tools to deal with them. Flamu, would you look at my completely average and in no way special 400k damage Mikasa? Pushing A, using island cover. I like it. Pay attention though, your team is abandoning you. The Turpitz, being a complete idiot, instead of supporting his team to A, is running away. You're pinging him and telling him to do that. That's probably what I would do as well. That's absolutely stupid. He should be supporting his team. Now you're spotted though, and you have no backup, so turn hard left angle. You don't want to push through here. Oh, I'm not sure about this, you can get stuck here. I would have turned, used the island as cover and turned. Now you turned in. And the problem here is, if they have something here, something speeding this way, then you can get pretty messed. Because you're also plane spotted, so I mean you're gonna have to leave this position regardless. Yeah, I think pushing into the island was not the correct choice. You are perma-spotted, there's something here spotting you. You are perma-spotted from here. Reversing behind the island isn't gonna help you because there's fighter planes, you're gonna stay spotted. You should have left this position. Should have left this position. I think you had a chance earlier to turn hard left and get out, and you didn't take it. And now I think you're gonna get rushed down, because you gotta consider the possibility. If you have no battleship backup, if you got no battleship help down here, it's always possible to rush you down. It's very easy to rush down a cruiser, in fact. So yeah, this is kind of suicidal play. Luckily the carrier pulled back, so if you repair engine, I think you can still get out of here. As soon as repair is up, repair, accelerate, turn hard left, get the hell out of this position. This is an awful position, you don't want to sit in here. I don't think you can afford to wait out this timer. I don't think you can afford to wait out this timer. You could look at this teammate, look at this team, you are completely abandoned. Also, Victor Huge and Devil in Grey, thank you both for the subs. Much appreciated. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're gonna get some broadsides here, you're gonna be able to blap someone, but honestly this is mostly luck, because the carrier was dumb enough to not keep you spotted. And for some reason they're giving you full broadside. God knows why. But you should... this position is just not good. Are they gonna focus you? Aimed a bit too low. Where's the focus fire? Surprisingly, they are... Well, the Fubuki is actually suiciding in. So once again, you got a fair amount of luck here. The fact that your teammates decided to completely suicide, and that you got away from this position much later than you should have, mostly because your Fubuki went full suicide, and that drew all their attention. Instead of if this guy hadn't done this dumb move, instead of shooting him, all three of these guys would be shooting you right now. And the thing is, you don't want to trade health early on in the Hipper. You want to play extremely safe early on in the Hipper because you don't have a heal, and the Hipper relies on having a fairly large health pool to be able to be effective. Because you want the threat of YOLOing in with your torps to always be present. You want that threat to always be there. Like they would need to be a bit afraid picking a fight with you, because at any point you could turn in, rush them, and with your health you could wreck them. Here of course we see the joys of King George HE. It constantly breaks engines on pretty much all the cruisers, as I demonstrated in a game earlier, and as we can see now, it's really brutal. Don't shoot, I wouldn't shoot, just kite. No, I don't think that was worth it. Your damage con is on cooldown. You just use your damage con. You got a rare occasion of being undetected and being able to disengage for 3. And you just threw away that option. Now you got a lot of incoming fire. Now we've got to pray to the RNG gods that your engine won't break, your rudder won't break, you won't get set on fire. You're still firing for some reason. You are alone. You're their only target. Everyone here is going to be taking pot shots at you. It's not worth tickling a Queen Elizabeth. Risking your life to tickle a Queen Elizabeth is just not worth it. Disengage, disengage, disengage. Very lucky that no fires, no big damage, no nothing. If your repair was up, maybe trying to do a bit of fade away damage, but when your repair is on cooldown, picking a fight is not smart. Because even just one shell that starts a fire is going to burn a ton of your health away. Not worth it. Worst part is, the fire will increase your detection, which will mean you'll struggle to actually disengage if you need to. So, yeah. Could the carrier actually drop you at this point? Wonder what your AA is at. Let's see. I wish we could see. I don't think we can see in a replay what your AA is at. But looking at your deck and the fact that the torp tubes are broken, I can assume that the HE spam has completely broken all your anti-air by this point. So carrier could even potentially drop you at this point. Or worse, he might threaten a drop, which will force you to turn into the drop. And if you have to turn to the left right now, turn into torpedoes, then they're gonna get a full broadside from here. So this position should have been vacated a lot longer. Overextended from the start. Well, I mean, supporting your DD at the start, seeing what was there, but as soon as you saw that they were pushing, they were committing with battleships and a lot of force, you should have been disengaging. Kiting away, getting some fires. This is fun. At this point, it's no longer nearly as dangerous to shoot, because the crossfire, when you're back here, there's the potential of this kind of crossfire. But when you're all the way down here, it's really only these two that can shoot you. Potentially someone back here, but you're already angled that way, so the threat isn't nearly as large. Also, the deeper into their spawn you kite, the more support you get from your turpits that's helping you, so yeah. This is fine. Dealing damage at this point is fine. Dealing damage earlier, I didn't like. I think you were trading. You were risking too much just to deal a very small amount of damage. And that's really one of the major issues with the Hipper, is that you always deal a very little amount of damage. That's pretty much, you always have to risk a lot of health to deal very small amounts of damage. That's a problem with having no DPM, having no alpha. So you really want to take safe opportunities to deal that damage instead of taking these extremely risky ones that we saw earlier. At this point, this is safe damage though. This is very safe damage. Sure, you need to keep an eye out for shells from back here. And constantly, whenever you zoom out like this, you should be staring at this skyline here. You should be staring at this. Not looking at the enemy, not looking at this Hipper. Glancing at the minimap and staring at the skyline. Okay, so it turns out it's a Benson. Well, that's a relief. Now you don't have to look anymore. But if there's 3 people targeting and you can only see 2, then that means that the third person is probably somewhere trying to get your broadside. So, gotta keep that in mind. Extremely risky in that sense, giving broadside and having multiple people target you. At this point, I would probably just start using the back guns to harass the Benson. You can't turn full broadside to harass the Benson, but turning around and angling your guns also works. But I would start using your back guns on it. You're not gonna kill the Hipper, not at this range. You're gonna tickle him. Why not wreck the Benson instead? The Benson needs HP a lot more than this Hipper does, and it's significantly more important and more rewarding, both XP and money-wise, to kill DDs than it is to shoot some Benson or shoot some Hipper. Come on, man. He's 8 km away. 8 km away. There we go, finally. No, don't turn. This is risky, see. Just use your back guns. I don't think turning left to use all your guns is worth it. I don't think it's worth it. If you had turned around completely and switched turret sides, it would be fine. But the risk with trying to use all your guns and turning left there is that you give full broadside to everything here. And yeah, that's extremely risky. Once again, at this point you need to stare at this number. If it goes up, even once, then you need to take evasive maneuvers. If this ticks to 2, then it's evasive maneuvers time. Drop to 1. Oh, this should be a kill. Broken engine. He's gonna struggle slowing down. That's nice. Ideally, would have happened a bit sooner, but that's fine. Do you really want to push in here? No, keep distance, farm damage, harass them. Queen Elizabeth is quite isolated. Occasionally you might shoot the King George, reset the cap later on when you get the opportunity, but overall farming the Queen Elizabeth is fine. Once again, this number needs to be your focus. As long as just the Queen Elizabeth is focusing you, that's fine. The second one of these guys start focusing you, you need to start turning. Oh, he's shooting HE. At this point, I would stop shooting, take a break with the shooting. Take a break with the shooting, let the Queen Elizabeth focus on someone else, disengage. You just blew your damage con. You're fighting a Royal Navy battleship and you just blew your damage con. That means you have a very high chance of being set on. Like, his fire chance is ridiculous. And at this point, the next volley could easily kill you. So, I would have just, as soon as you blew the damage con, I would have just stopped firing and gone stealth. This volley could kill you. Some good dodging and his aim wasn't really that aware. Once again though, I would have waited 15-20 seconds before picking a fight with this guy. Really playing it extreme, like unnecessary. I feel the key thing to take away from this replay is unnecessary risks. And in cruisers, you can't really take too many of them, because eventually you will get punished, and cruisers get punished extremely hard. And I think there's been a fair amount of luck in this game. Your teammates suiciding in really opportune moments that have gotten you away from situations that have been a bit too risky. So, safer play. Use your concealment. More concealment usage, and in general, safer play. There's no need to YOLO in there. Playing aggressive in a cruiser is one of the hardest things in the game. It's extremely challenging because if you miss position in a cruiser, you die extremely quickly. So playing safe while learning positioning is much better than trying from the get-go to play aggressive and then just getting wrecked. And he dies. 950 points. At this point you can probably turn around and just push in, play aggressive. It doesn't really matter. The King George is almost within range though, so you can probably harass him as well. You need to decide which way you want to go though. He hits a torp on the nose. And he's ticking, I think he's ticking. No, the fire is still on. That means he didn't repair, which would have made him a target. But overall, too many risks. Too many risks. That's what I didn't like about that replay. Especially when your teammates back off. I mean, it's admirable to stay and try to solo defend, but if you're in a cruiser and all your team bails and you're up against DDs and battleships, you're not really gonna achieve much. And it's better to start kiting earlier than to wait until you're almost dead and then start kiting. So yeah, more reactionary play to the minimap. Okay, let's see. What kind of games do we have here? We have a Des Moines game. That's always pretty interesting. Ashitaka. It's tier 9. That's pretty What's with these Fletch 200k Kraken Fletcher games? Come on. Am I gonna be interested in like, I'm looking for average games. If I want to show carry games, I'll just open my own replays. That's fine. Do we want to show Battleship? Ashitaka though. I don't want to recommend anyone buying the Ashitaka. Ashitaka is such a bad ship. Once again, Kaba 230k damage game. That's so far away from average. Like, what the fuck? If you guys try to argue that those are your average games, then you guys must be super, super, super Unicum. Because even I don't average anywhere close to those numbers. I give up. Flamu, will a replay from 0.6.13 work? I have no fucking idea. Try it. I mean, fucking try opening it in your own client. Does it work for you? If it works for you, then it probably works for me. I mean, isn't there a simple answer? Isn't there a simple way of verifying that question? You try to open your own replay in your client. Alright, what do we have here? What did I open? Des Moines game. 3-man division. Des Moines gearing Gorforce. Okay, you got pretty damn lucky on the matchmaking. There's a carrier, which means you will be infinitely more useful. It's also a map with a lot of cover, which is also means you will be more useful. The gearing is pushing B. So ideally I would probably push my Des Moines back here. Behind this island. You can lob shells over and support. Alternatively, you could even push nose in to this island. I'm not too sure about pushing too aggressively into this cap though, simply because you have no one going C. At this point, Des Moines is very weak to flanking attacks, so you don't really want to push too deep if you have no one on the flank, because that means if you push in B and then it turns out they were also pushing C, you end up being shot in the flank, and Des Moines has a huge citadel and you just get blapped. So a bit safer position back here would probably be a bit better in this case. I mean, if a DD pushes into the island, you can still reach him with radar. And honestly, it's a Shima Yugumo, so your DD should have a really easy time dealing with them. Also, pushing past here to hunt the DD is risky because the enemy has 1, 2, 3 radars and a carrier. So that's probably not going to work out. Hinden, I would probably switch to AP. Oh, it's an Omni player as well. I would probably have started turning a bit right here, switching to AP to seeing if I could punish his broadside, because he's sailing around like this, so that's giving broadside. Now it's too late though, you're spotted. Did the Hindenburg stop? Pushing into the cap with the Hindenburg potentially here. We just saw Hinden, we saw Montana as well. You're not paying attention to this. You want to shoot down the planes, I understand, but you're literally giving broadside. We just saw Hindenburg here, and there's battleships there. I don't like this. I don't like... Oh my god, you are a lucky motherfucker. Holy shit, I did not like that move at all. That was tunnel vision. That was straight for... I understand you want to protect your teammate, but that was tunnel vision. That... You almost just got Citadel to shit because you really, really wanted to shoot down those planes. We knew they had shit here. The Montana had been spotted, Hidden had been spotted. There's nothing up here, so we could already guess that there would be shit here. And the threat I spoke about earlier, about pushing in with no one at sea. The flank I spoke about, it's now happening. They pushed the flank just as I was afraid of. And now you're too deep to deal with the flank. So now you're kind of fucked. You're really kind of fucked. And it's really up to the enemy team to misplay at this point. The enemy team needs to really fuck up for this to become a good game. The Charles Martel is doing a good job of doing that. He's sailing past full broadside. You should be switching to AP already. Switch to AP, switch to AP, switch to AP. Punish the Charles Martel. What are you waiting for? Now you switch. Okay, that should have happened a lot sooner, but that's fine. He's still dumb enough to give you a lot of broadside, so you can punish him heavily. And he got away with it. Well, that's unfortunate. Faster reactions in general, I mean, you get that just by playing more, but in general, more map awareness. We could see that Charles Martel sailing in all the way from back here. He was spotted a long time, so you had plenty of time to prepare for him. Also, this push in here, I hated it from the start. Exactly what I was afraid of. The thing I mentioned at the very start of the game is literally now coming true about this flank. So, if you don't have any teams on the flank, you can't push in another demand. So, very, very dangerous. It surprisingly seems like you're actually going to survive getting out of here because the enemy team is too afraid to push. In this case, the enemy team could actually be pushing aggressively into B because you have no real support there and the enemy team can just rush you and kill you. But the enemy team is luckily letting you get away with this. You should be dead by now, which is lucky for you, but unfortunate that you lost pretty much half your health. You do have heal though. In this point, I would probably turn my guns around this side. And I would start kiting away, rejoin my team. You don't want to be fighting solo versus an army. Okay, you're doing it now. Could have done it a bit earlier, but I understand playing safe. It's fine. Turn, turn, turn. Keep disengaging. See, this, I don't like the fact that you didn't turn earlier, simply because if this Yugomo here, if he had pushed out towards your spawn, you would be spotted right now. The Yugomo right here would be spotting you. Luckily, the Yugomo was very slow. For some reason, he parked and sat in C. So once again, you're kind of being let away. It's not so much that you're escaping, it's more like the enemy team is letting you escape, which is lucky, but good for the sake of the commentary. Keep disengaging. You don't want to shoot anyone right now. You're not in a position to pick any fights. You need to I would probably avoid shooting all the way until I'm somewhere around here. Any sort of shots taken right now. None of these people have anything to shoot at. This Montana doesn't have anything to shoot at. This Missouri doesn't really have any good targets. If you shoot right now, you become a really good target. Also, you should be using your heal. You want to regain as much health as possible as you move this way, so you're combat capable again. Saving heal is fine if you're in a position to deal damage and you want the AR bonus. I do it sometimes to not heal just to get additional DPS out of AR, but in this case, if you pick a fight, you're guaranteed to be shot at. There's no safe way to deal damage, so there's absolutely no point to delay this healing. I think this is just not paying attention. So, defo should be healing at this point. Finally, thank you. Chat sends you a big thank you for that one. People were getting quite triggered. Let's see. Hesitant to open fire. I think you maybe... no. Switch to AP, switch to AP. That's Des Moines. I would have already switched to AP. It looked like he was gonna push. Potential to punish. Especially since did you have expert loader? Regardless, you switch ammo type so quickly on the Des Moines. Always be ready to switch to AP, because AP on Des Moines is so powerful. If he had pushed out, having AP ready there would have been amazing. Luckily though, he doesn't push out, so staying to HE is not bad. Opening fire should be fine. Montana is so far away. This guy has his guns turned the other way. You're angled away from both targets. It should be fine. Problem here is of course that the Des Moines has no real armor. If the Montana shoots you, you will eat massive damage, so your best bet is to just dodge the shells. He only hits one shell, that's good. I would probably stop shooting entirely, get undetected. Oh, is the Charles in spotting range? No, he's not. So stop shooting, get undetected. Nice. Now I would start turning up here. Disengage, disengage. There's no reason to fire yet. Wait for him to turn, switch to AP. No, he was turning and giving you broadside. You should have let him. If the enemy is about to make a mistake, let him make that mistake. Don't let him know that you're about to blap him. He literally started a full turn. You could have just a bit more patient, switch to AP, and punish that broadside. AP would have been fine if he's giving that much broadside. American AP has excellent penetration angles and you could easily pen him from here. Your Kurfürst bails you out though, that's nice. Are you sure you want to turn right at this point? You're spotted. Is the Missouri here aiming at you? You don't know. We have no information if he's aiming at you. We're hoping he doesn't aim at you. We hope it's the Montana that's targeting you. Because if this Missouri had been aiming at you while you were spotted there, you would have gotten deleted. You would still be getting deleted because you're giving full broadside to this Missouri. We saw him smoke up, we know his guns are pointed this way. Luckily though, it appears he's not interested in you and is focusing on something else. But more positional awareness of what could be punishing your broadside. I don't know. I mean, I guess dealing damage here is okay. The problem is, once again, you're still giving broadside to all of these guys over here. I don't really like this angle. I would have preferred you waited a bit longer before firing, so you could put this island here between you and B, so the threat from B doesn't exist anymore. Because you're not even looking here. Is the Missouri aiming at you? Hope not. We have, like, relying blindly on priority target isn't good, because if he turns his guns first and then locks on and shoots, you don't really get much of a warning. Do you need to be shooting right now? You have multiple fires on him. Do you need to be dealing damage? Why not stop firing for a second, get into a better position while you're undetected and while he's burning? See, if you would have stopped firing for a second, you could probably have gotten undetected, turned and sailed behind the island, and then you can open up fire again. If you got multiple fires on a battleship, he's gonna eat so much damage, it might not be worth giving away your position just to add to that damage that's already there. AP if he gives broadside. Full threat broadsides, especially if you have a fire burning. If you have a fire on the superstructure and he's running fire prevention, just switch to AP and punish him. You do more raw damage. And that's what I do. Turn guns, lock on briefly, fire, and lock off. Yeah, I know. I also make sure I instantly lock off targets I shoot at to not give them any warning. So it might just be a flicker, like it turns to 2 briefly and then it turns back to a 1, and you might not even notice it, and then there's shells in the air that might delete you. I think you're aiming a bit too high. It might be a replay bug. Because you're getting a lot of shatters, which means you're probably not hitting the superstructure, but you're hitting the deck armor on the back. That was good volley though. Carrier, of course, now decides to focus the Montana when he's already dead. Genius. Genius carrier gameplay. He committed both his bombers as well. Totally not a waste of the strike. Ideally, of course, if your carrier played this well, your carrier would have struck out that Montana ages ago and he would be hovering a plane on top of the Yugomo, spotting him all the time. But that's a fantasy world where carriers actually know what they're doing, so that rarely happens in actual games. At this point, pushing B with your team is just fine. But ultimately, I think the major lessons in this game was already early on. The playing too aggressive, especially when we knew that their team was coming this way. If nothing is spotted here and something is spotted here, then you should already start playing safe. If your team starts scapping and nothing is still spotted, then you start playing extremely safe. And then when the ships start popping up here, that's when you start disengaging and kiting. Pushing into B, and then only once you're actually at this island realizing, oh shit, the entire team is here, you should die. You got really lucky that you got away alive from this position. You should have died with like 4k damage dealt, simply because the early aggression was too much. Especially with no team here. That position is fairly strong if you have teammates who hold C and push C. Even if you have a battleship sitting here, the battleship denies this angle, and if he denies this angle, then parking here is significantly safer, because then you only have to deal with this threat. But the second this part is empty, then the crossfire comes in, and crossfires annihilate the Moines. Poor Tortured. He's fucking wrecking, but his team is garbage. I'm just watching Confederate High Caliber Kraken pop up for Tortured. Meanwhile, his team is just dying. I know that field, Tortured. I know that fucking field. I know that weekend game field. You could probably arc AP shots over. Switched AP, switched AP, you saw broadside? You saw broadside Neptune. Come on. Des Moines arcs are massive. Especially even if you... As soon as you see broadside, switch to AP. Don't hesitate, switch to AP. Because if he then later angles away, switch back to HE. But by habit, multiple opportunities where cruisers were full broadside and really long delays on switching to AP. So just make it a habit. You see broadside, AP, instant switch. No delays. My average damage and win rate in the Moskva is much better than my DM or Zao. Does this mean the Moskva fits my playstyle better, or is it just better? It might be better for your playstyle, as suiting your playstyle better. Des Moines is one of the more challenging cruisers in the game because Des Moines is intensely positional. Moskva is fairly positional as well, but Moskva gets away with open positions that the Des Moines can't get away with. Like Moskva can sit in the open nose in and tank the world. Des Moines, if he sits in the open nose in, he just melts. So, and the Moskva gets away with more things than the Des Moines does. The Des Moines, of course, compensates with AA, longer duration radar, and massive firepower in return. But Moskva is a bit forgiving on the open air positions. Zao, on the other hand, well, it's hard to have the same impact in the Zao because you lack radar. And Zao's position has kind of been bullied by the Royal Navy battleships. Like, you're no longer the king of HE. And now when you have to compete with others from your team with fires and stuff, it starts getting pretty absurd. Is it me or he never used defensive AA? Didn't he use it at the start? I'm surprised he didn't. But I mean, it's a Taiho. I guess he could have used it. You don't have to be as with middleweight. You have to be really careful with defensive AA because his AP bombs blap Des Moines. But against the Taiho, I guess he could have been a lot more freer with the usage. Turn hard left. Turn hard left. You see the Taiho, the way he's sailing? Turning hard left brings your guns to bear on him faster because you can shoot over this island. Going this way means that these torps, and all this firepower will land on him before you can do anything. And luckily the Taiho decides to turn towards you. AP at this distance is fine. But yeah, not really much damage left.
But I wonder. I think I am actually.
DV Alaya, thank you for the 11 months, much appreciated. But yeah, positioning. That's one of the hardest things in the Des Moines and something I always tend to highlight. Positioning, 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 and once again we saw it. What do you think I did wrong in this game? Kagero. Kagero 12k. You're willing to send me a 12k damage Kagero game? Okay, I'll check that out. I'll check that out. Like the Des Moines in that replay should have died right at the start when he gave broadside to all those enemies. He should have gotten heavily punished, and then he should have just died later on. He got away with far too much. He'll predict us his positioning again. Indeed, we'll see though. You can get unlucky as well. You can play well and still just get unfortunate. Let's see, matchmaking. Carrier means the game carrier, if there's carrier in the game, that automatically means you have to play more defensive as a DD. That's just a rule of thumb. If you see a carrier, that means flanking attacks, like these wide open away from teammates kind of attacks are completely out of the question, because if you get plane spotted, you get punished. Second, they have one radar, Missouri. That's pretty good. Actually, no, Chop I have. Besides that, you're pretty lucky with the matchmaking. Only 2 radars and only 1 destroyer. Well, first of all, torpedo reload booster. Torpedo reload booster plus carrier means safety, safety, safety. We must play extremely safe. That means going A. If you're going to go A, first of all, I probably wouldn't go A to begin with. You have no smoke if carrier planes show up, which means your only way to survive is to disengage. So to begin with, if you were capping A, I would sail around like this and reverse into the cap. I would not go nose in here. If you go nose in here, you no longer have any escapes. Then you have to turn your ship around like this if you get spotted. So to begin with, we have established 2 huge risks. Carriers plus no smoke. And that means if we're gonna take this cap, I would reverse into it. Nose in is not an option. Nose in is not an option at all. I don't think pushing nose in, even like if you try to turn around like this, it's not worth it. Turn your ship around, reverse into the cap. That's what they do in competitive for this exact reason. You need to be disengaging. There's the planes we were afraid of. There's more planes, just as we predicted. At this point, already turn away. The planes are coming your way. You don't want to go here. No, 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 no. You are going to get spotted at this point. It's almost guaranteed. Already disengaged. Pop your speed boost. Why is speed boost not active? Pop your speed boost. Get out. Get the hell out of this position. It's already blown. Planes are hovering on top of you. Speed boost. Why is the speed boost not active? You're already disengaging. If you're disengaging, use your speed boost. It's a survival tool. At this point, you don't need to turn into torpedo bombers if there's only 1 torpedo bomber. You want to disengage. See, the problem here is you started turning in when in fact you could have just sailed straight away from them. The reason you turn into torpedo bombers is are you reporting your carrier for not killing the planes? See, the reason you turn into torpedo bombers is if you're in a big clumsy ship or you're afraid of cross drops. But if you're against 1 single torpedo bomber, just kite away. Kite away, kite away. I thought my CV would help me out there. You can't rely on carriers. You cannot ever rely on carriers. Also, remember that your Shukaku has 2 fighters against what, his 2 fighters? I mean, you can't, first of all, never rely on randoms. Second, don't reverse, you're on fire. There might be a DD here. No DDs have been spotted yet. You don't know where the DD is. I wouldn't reverse here at all. Their DD hasn't been spotted, the Kagero. So the Kagero could be sitting here and you'd have no idea. He hasn't been spotted a single time. Need to keep that in mind. CV's ruined this game. Well, to be fair, you mean because you're in DD with us? Exactly. He honestly has a fair point there. If you bring, one of the great weaknesses of torpedo reload is huge carrier vulnerability. Huge carrier vulnerability, and you can't rely. When you pick torpedo reload booster and there's a carrier, that means you either play extremely safe or you get wrecked. You can't rely on your... Holy shit, that report spam. You can't rely on your friendly carrier. I always say, don't expect anything from your teammates and you won't be disappointed. Because if it's a new player or a bad player or whatever, that's not his game that will be ruined if you get killed. It's your game that will be ruined. So play it safe. There was a lot of health traded for a cap that could have been taken a lot safer. You could have disengaged. If you had disengaged earlier, you could have come back for the cap. But now you're extremely low HP. So now we have 2 reasons. Actually 3 reasons to play safe. We still don't know where the Kagero is. You're not running RPF, so we have no early warning of where the Kagero is. There's a potential radar over here, which means we must maintain our distance. There's fighter planes and his fighters. Another reason to maintain the distance. You're 1 shot capable from pretty much anyone. So at this point, we need to play super safe. Max range, torpedoes, well, max and max, like, this is a pretty good distance. I'd maybe take a bit more distance. Once again, Kagero has been spotted at sea. That's good. That's good. That's good information, because now at least we know where the enemy destroyer is. And now we can start dropping this. Dropping some preemptive torps. I would torpedo reload booster and drop from another angle, especially since he's turning. Probably preemptive torps around here. No, he's not turning away. The thing with torpedo reload booster is you kind of want to drop your torps extremely quickly after you use it, because otherwise you're kind of wasting the whole point of running it. Torpedo bombers coming in, pop your speed boost, get away, get away, get away. Consumable usage. You have a speed boost, you aren't using it at all. Almost no consumable usage. Multiple times where you could enhance your dodging and in general disengaging just by popping speed boost. You don't need to turn into them, you don't need to turn into them. Turn away, turn away. Why do you turn into this? It's one squad. It's one single squad of torp bombers. There's no reason to turn in, you can just sail right away from them. If he drops behind you, you just keep sailing away. Very easy to dodge. Against the Shokaku, I would turn in if he has got 2 torp bombers, because if you sail away and he drops behind you, he's setting up for a cross drop. But against the single Lexington torpedo bomber, there's no reason to turn into those torp bombers. You just turn away from them and you keep kiting away. At this point you could turn on AA. It won't really have much of an impact, but turning left so he drops across your ship like this is a good idea. Now it's just up to RNG, and RNG fucked you over. Once again though, we already established carrier was focusing on this part of the map. Multiple times we knew the threat was here. So if you already got wrecked once by the planes on that flank, do we really want to stay on that flank either? So too aggressive. Much. The thing with torpedo reload DDs is you have to play extremely safe, because you give up a huge amount of survivability in the form of a smoke for the potential of additional damage. So yeah, just too much, way too much aggression. Much safer, much safer. CV just picking on him. I mean, I would probably go drop him as well. Kagero that can get killed by 1 bomb, especially torpedo reload Kagero, who's a huge threat. I'd probably go left click him to death as well. Okay, let's see what other games. I think I'll do one more. He just wanted maximum AR potential. I'd rather have smoke. Torpedo reload booster is really fun to play. It's really fun to play. You just have to play safe. You have to play safe. Ashitaka. Fine, let's look at the Ashitaka replay. Actually, Ashitaka is such a boring ship though, especially on that map. How can I send you replays? I have a 125k damage Mayhem game. Well, I wouldn't open it then. Not really interested. Missouri. I haven't covered Missouri in a while. Let's check the Missouri replay. Ashitaka is in the bad ship for tier 7. The problem is when you get up tiered, which happens quite often, you're pretty screwed. You should ask for the saltiest replays. See, I already asked for them. I asked for my subs replays. Double pink. Oh shit, it's Ion again. Uh-oh. Is it Ion's redeem attempt? YouTube did not like Ian. We established that. YouTube did not like him, but both of them are pink. Good lord. Come on, Ian. Let's see. 5 DDs, which is pretty okay for Missouri. Terrible for Iowa, pretty okay for Missouri. You have Shima Shima Black Z52, they have Z52, Z52. You both got a lot of capture point power. They probably have a bit more because they got gearing and double Z, but you should still be able to have a pretty big impact on the outcome here. Now, starting off, I would probably sail south, this way, where you're pointed right now is pretty good, and turn my guns here, so you can support your Z46. That zoom out cam, yeah. You are running RPF on a Missouri. That's not really optimal. It's not good on. It's not that valuable on battleships, unless it's for clan war reasons. I am giving you the benefit of the doubt that you're running some gearing captain or USDD captain on it. In which case RPF. If in that case RPF makes sense. I mean, Missouri is a premium, so it's not unconventional that you train captains. It's my Steven Seagal clan battles captain. Exactly. Well, see, then it makes sense. If it's clan battle captain, then RPF makes perfect sense, because in high tier clan battles you run RPF on all ships. All ships. So it's perfectly fine. Nice flat broadside. Lining up that perfect shot. Pretty good position to shoot from as well. Might have been unspotted. This Yamato is sleeping though, and that volley has the potential to actually be very good, because this guy doesn't know what angling is at all. However, it's a Yamato though, weak armor, confirmed by Reddit, so clearly he takes massive damage. Oh, very lucky start, gearing detonates, and pushing in closer. Ideally you want to get close enough so that you can, when you pop your radar, you'll be able to radar both B and C for your teams, because that's the ultimate use of that radar, getting multicap radars. B is B capping? Oh, Ruin, what are you doing? He's slowing down. Oh, that's juicy. B is not capping. That means there's a DD in B. So at this point I would probably close the distance and radar whatever is in B, so you can actually secure it. He's accelerating. Bit more lead. Yeah, that should be pretty okay. It looks like you're finally capping B though, so there was like pushing in while you're fighting someone else. There's nothing preventing you using a radar just to help your team. A common mistake new players make, well, in general inexperienced players make, is that they focus on only using the radar when they themselves can shoot. And once you get a bit more experience, you realize just that you don't always have to be using your own radar to fire at someone. You can just be radaring to support your team, or you can even use radar just to put pressure on the team. A radar, like people assume that if you radar and you deal 0 damage, or your team deals 0 damage during the radar, it's a wasted radar. But if you put a lot of pressure on the team, you force them out of position, you force them to retreat and flee, it might still be extremely useful. This Yamato, oh my lord. This guy. Oh my god. Slow down. I would stop if I were you. Just sit here and farm him. You're not in a hurry anywhere. Yeah, you're slowing down. I would farm this potato all day. Also the threat of these two DDs. You're not detected though, so it looks like they're going around. As long as you're aware that these DDs are most likely pushing around at this point. So keep that in mind. You will most likely be forced to accelerate and turn at some point. The second you get spotted, it means they've come around this corner. My god. This Yamato. And here we have some NA replays. Wow, Torpedo's overpowered, clearly. I can't wait to see, I can't wait to read his thread on the forums about how broken DDs are because they can torpedo battleships. RPF is pointing here, the DD is just about to come around, he's gonna get spotted any second now. Pay attention to your RPF, turn your guns. You can punish this DD if you turn around now. You have a good opportunity to turn hard left, surprise these DDs and radar them. Come on Ian. No, now he's here. He's sitting there. Now you start noticing, come on. Okay, a bit lack of map awareness I would say there. Still, I don't know, why aren't you turning around? Why do you... Okay, if you know the DD is here, your RPF points it, you are spotted. We knew he was here. Everyone was aware that this DD was here. Why not turn your guns and start turning your ship and then pop radar? Because now you're only gonna get one volley off. Also, there's nothing stopping you from pinging that position and telling your teammates, I'm about to radar this DD here, so people can react to it. Predictable torpedoes. Turn. Okay, you're not reacting. Okay, finally. Ah, that's okay. Could have been worse. A bit slow on the reactions. Okay, you're still sailing in a straight line. Are you trying to go through the gap to D? I hate this idea. I hate this idea. Holy moly, I hate this idea. Support your team, they're pushing. If your team is pushing them, then support them. Okay, the battleship on D. Battleship on D is... Okay, best case scenario. Both these DDs turn around and sail this way. If they do though, you're not going to be seeing them. They're going to be torping you. Worst case scenario, these DDs keep cutting away like this, which I expect they will. And you're going to be out of the... Last volley was 12:30. Let's start a counter like now. 12:30 was the... 13:30 even was the last time you shot. Let's count how long it takes you to be useful again. RPF keeps pointing left, so that means they are most likely moving up as expected, as predicted. They're moving away. Are you spotted? No. No spotting. It means they're already up here. Somewhere up here already. So they are miles fucking away. 13:30. 1 minute has passed since you last shot at someone in a battleship. You have 2 caps, which means caps are even. You don't really need this cap as much as you need the firepower to support your team. Your team is being pushed back on A. Hindenburg is fleeing. Montana is deciding to chase these DDs to the end of the world. Extremely debatable decision. Kutuzov did the same, and now your Friedrich de Grosse is all alone. Hopefully the enemy team doesn't start focusing him once they realize how out of position he is, because if they start focusing him, he's about to get crossfired. I go AFK here for about 20 seconds as UPS rang the doorbell. I mean, slowing down the cap. Oh, so this is where you go AFK as well? RPF on a BB, guys. Chat who are still commenting on it. It's because it's a clan battle captain. Well, that wasn't 20 seconds. That was like 10 seconds. 10-15 seconds. Well, I guess he could have started slowing down earlier, but the slowdown helped secure the cap. Still though, 13:30 last shot. It's been 2 minutes 30 seconds. We're approaching 3 minutes. Yugoma for some reason is still sticking. Yugoma for some reason is fighting the Kutuzov close range. What in God's name are you doing, Yugoma? What the hell is that Yugoma doing? Well, that's extremely beneficial for your team because the enemy DDs are retarded. But yeah. It looks like some of them have started focusing your Friedrich de Grosse, who's all alone. Supporting him would have probably been a lot... Like, when you turned here, I either wanted you to brush them, so that your next radar cooldown would have killed them both, or I wanted you to turn and support your team. This D thing, 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Still useless. This is like, I feel like this is a good example of why I hate battleships going to D, because it puts you out of the fight. It puts you completely away from the fight. You might as well be AFK constantly on that. Like, you might as well be answering the UPS doorbell for 10 minutes when you go to D, because you have no more impact on the outcome. My concern with turning further north was that I wouldn't make the turn and would have grounded myself. Would that have been the end of the world though? The DDs were up here and they were already torping. So grounding here is highly unlikely to get yourself torped. Also, you can just reverse and then push north. I don't think they're like grounding. You can ground as long as you're not caught in a terrible position. Just like grounding in itself isn't the end of the world. It's only bad if you ground in a position where you're vulnerable. Doug Weaker, thank you for the sub, much appreciated. That's okay, now you shot. What was it? 13:30, so 4 minutes and 30 seconds of downtime. So almost 5, almost a quarter of the game wasted on this maneuver. Almost a quarter of the game wasted on this maneuver here. That is, provided this game lasts the full 20 minutes. AP on broadside. Should be a pretty good volley. Indeed. He gets citadeled since he gave so much broadside. And now we're back in the battle. But see, ideally you would have been in this position 3.5, 4 minutes earlier. Your body goes down. They eventually focused him down because he was overextended. Once again, your body probably shouldn't have pushed here once he realized he was alone. He should have waited for you, just sat here and taken pot shots while waiting for you to show up. But going D battleship is always going to get a negative for me. That's never a good decision. Torpedoes. We know the Z-52 is still here. You know the Z-52 is hunting you. How about the radar for information? How about radar for information? How about that radar for information? Or we can just cross our fingers and hope he doesn't torp us. The Shima would probably appreciate the radar for information as he's pushing into the cap. He would probably have wanted to know where the Z-52 was. And there's more torpedoes. And we have incredible luck. How about radar for information? How about that information radar? How about the heal? So that the next torp doesn't just straight up kill us. Consumables. How about that information radar? Now the heal, finally. Still no radar. There's the radar! Yes! No, and he had no health! We could have killed him 2 minutes ago. We could have radared him and shot him and killed him, and that threat would never have existed. Okay, consumable usage. More awareness, more freer radar usage. I think there were 2 times where the radar usage was extremely suspect this game. First of all, when if you're running a clan war battleship and you have RPF telling you that there is someone popping up on the side, you know there's a DD there, you get spotted, you have all the warning signs that there's a DD there, turn your guns, tell your team, then pop that radar and wreck him. Radaring and then waiting 15 seconds for your turrets to traverse as he starts fleeing and your team realizing there's a dude there is probably not a good idea.